and who doesn't. Despite thinking our reputation is defined and therefore unshakable, God instead
Will do, you too. Get ready for 9 o'clock.
Hello, Harry.
Hello, Mr. Pickard.
How long have you been doing reenacting for?
Ooh. Coming up 3 years now, I believe.
Wow. How'd you get into it?
Well, I got bored in lockdown, you see. So I started researching stuff. And it just progressed from there. And then, right, I met you. I started it. Because,
Right.
I went to an event locally where obviously I met Mr. Pickard, and well, yeah, and then again Cowbourne, and you invited me to your next event at Sandown, and the rest is history.
That's history. So it's all down to me.
It's all down to you.
Heard it here first.
Fair enough.
So what are you doing at Goodwood Revival, Mr. Taylor?
Well, today I've just been standing around the display and looking at tractors and riding tractors.
Trackers.
Trackers.
Cool.
Maybe later go around the kind of a watch. When not so midday, go around the arena event area, look at all the cool stuff that's going on.
I'm not a good interviewer, try to think of more questions. What are you wearing? Can you take us through what you're wearing?
Well, today I am wearing the parts of a 1937 pattern uniform, British Army. Obviously, battle dress trousers, woolen undershirt, 37 pattern belt, 37 pattern gaiters, BEF style because they've got the brass tabs, and DMS contact, and DMS boots, and obviously a side cap on my head with the cap badge of the Grenadier Guards.
Whoa. That was a bit loud.
That was very loud, my ears are ringing.
Hello, Mother.
Hello, son.
So, what's the story behind the salvage stuff?
So, do you want to come over and I'll show you? So we've got our pig bin here next to our salvage. because it's really important in the wartime to reuse everything over and over and over and over again. Everything had another use, could be turned into something else. So we encourage you to collect your salvage. One of the things they would do is say to you that we can turn it all into Spitfires. It wasn't about that, it was about keeping morale high, that everybody was doing their bit for a war effort. So this realistically wouldn't have been turned into salvage. However, we did encourage you to keep scraps of food. So what we've got represented here is the kitchen waste, and that's to feed pigs, because pigs were the most economical animal that we reared during the wartime years. And there's a brilliant wartime saying that you can eat every part of a pig except its squeak or its squeal, and we can literally use every single part of the animal. And they can eat all the things we can't eat. So they eat all our raw food, they eat leftover food. So we can fatten up the pigs on all the food that we don't use. So we also have here our beautiful washing line, and these have been the draw for lots of people, and that's somebody's bloomers. So what we're representing here is a little bit of a mixture of make, do and mend items and what we call CC41, which we've got on display here. So we've also got a little representation of washing, so it's been quite fascinating for people to see the carbolic soap, see the dolly board, see the dolly tub and the tongs, and we start talking about how people might have done their washing back in the wartime years. So part of what we've got on display here is we've got our CC41 items, and it's just a representation of clothing. We've got a handkerchief there, we've got a tea towel, kings, gloves, sheets. Everything went onto the clothing coupon system. So CC41 was Civilian Clothing 1941, and that was when the coupon system was introduced. So we've just got a little representation of your clothing book and some of the coupons. So it's just showing you that everything that was made with a fabric material had to go on the system. You got so many coupons per week, and then each item had a certain amount of points attached to it. So you could still buy new things, you just had to have the right amount of coupons for that item, and things fluctuated. So the coupons went up and down in quantity, so it really depended on supply and demand. So we just got even corsets, bras, stockings, everything was on this clothing system. So we've also put in here a little bit of a representation, and people love reminiscing with the Pond's face powder and the Germaline and the little bottles of perfume. We've got toothpaste here, there's hair accessories. So it just gives you a flavour of clothing and fashion. And then we move across to make, do and mend. So obviously not everyone could afford new clothes, or you didn't really afford many new clothes. So a lot of it was about what we call recycling today, but a lot of it is reusing old items, re-knitting things, making gifts for people out of your scrap or your waste. But not everybody knew how to do that. So Mrs. So-and-so were leaflets that were produced to help you learn about patching and sewing and darning and mending. But WI organisations, WVS people, communities held little meetings where you could go along and learn the skills as well. So we all assume everyone knew how to do everything, but not everybody did, and not everybody was good at everything. So it was about being community and about learning from each other. So we've got lots of darning and mending and sewing, lots of homemade gifts in here. And this is a fascinating item. This is a necklace made out of beech nuts, and it was brilliant because a lady gave that to us at a few years ago, and she came back yesterday and was so pleased to see the necklace that she'd given us. Her mum had it made for her, and it's made out of beech nuts. It's been finely strung together, and it was given as a gift, and she didn't want to throw it away, and people wouldn't really understand what it was. And so she was really pleased to see it here on the display and it being talked about. So we got here CC41 utility dress. So it's just interesting for people to see the utility dresses up close and really how little fabric was used. So the hems and the seams on the cuffs of the sleeve, for example, are tiny. Somebody's obviously adapted this and made a little belt for the dress. So there's hardly any hem on the bottom of the dress here. It's not lined, so it really is very, very basic. 3 buttons, 3 pleats, which are following the rules of utility for clothing manufacture. We've also got our fur here, and it's some people love it, some people are not so keen on seeing the fox fur, but it's good to explain that that was the fashion of the time, and actually fur was a sign of wealth, so the more fur you had, the wealthier you were. We've got our utility shoes on display as well, so you can see how well used the utility shoes are, but they're again very basic design, very quick, easy design to produce. But utility also stood for good quality, because there's no point in producing clothing, furniture, if it's going to break or wear out in 5 minutes. So it also is really, really durable. And a lot of these clothes exist today because they were so well made, and a lot of the utility furniture you can still find today because it was really built to last. So also on the display here we've got just a representation, some of them have gone a bit curly because it's just rained, but a representation of some of the food facts. And we've got the Dig for Victory campaign, but then it was Dig On for Victory, Dig for Victory again, and that's just again highlighting how Dig for Victory, we thought war would be over soon, but then we have to do it again for another year. So it's trying to re-motivate people to do Digging for Victory for another year and then another year. We've also got Ministry of Food leaflets. We've had the pleasure of working with a lady called Marguerite Patton, who was a home economist in the war years, and she was one of these ladies who went round demonstrating in school, village halls, school halls. She went to Harrods, she did a little cookery corner in Harrods eventually, and the whole point behind people like Marguerite was to try and get you to do something a little bit more exciting with your food. And she always said to me, if anyone says to you they starved in the war, they've got something really, really wrong. It was never a lack of food, as you'll see in a moment. It was the blandness and the monotony of food. Mum wouldn't risk doing anything too exciting with her rations because she didn't want to get it wrong and therefore waste. So she would stick to the same thing that she knew week after week after week. So it got really, really dull. And we were still importing herbs and spices, so some of the shipping space was reserved for things like herbs and spices because we had to keep the morale on the home front really high. The home front is just as important as the army front, as your troops on the front line, because it's your home front that supports all the production of your weapons, your ships, your guns, your bullets, all that stuff that we need to give to the troops that are fighting has to come from the home front. So we need the home front to keep those wheels turning. So it's all about morale, like we talked about with the salvage. So we have to sort of re-motivate you. People like Marguerite went around teaching you what to do with your rations, how to cook one-pot meals, so to save fuel, how to add herbs and spices into food to keep food interesting. So we've got here all the ration books. There's 3 types of ration book. You've got adult, child and junior. You've got a supplementary ration book and a points coupon book, so as well as your ID cards. And the idea behind the ration books was that you all had an entitlement to food every week. So what we've got here is just a representation of your basic food ration. So you've got your butter, cheese, lard, your margarine, 1 egg a week. You've got your sugar, jam was every 2 months, tea was every week, and then your 2.1 ounces of sweets. Your meat ration, you got 2 to 4 slices of corned beef and your bacon, and then your meat ration was 1 shilling 2 pence worth of meat. So it could be any makeup of meat. It's all done by value. So people went for the cheaper cuts of meat because then you got more meat for your money. If you came from a big family, you might have gone for a joint of meat. So you make that meat stretch a little bit further. But you were encouraged to keep chickens in your back garden. You've got your powdered egg. You were encouraged to do your victory garden. You could still buy the tins and packaging in the shops, but then we introduced the points system. So points were bought in because obviously we couldn't import as much food from abroad, and we didn't want the shelves to start looking empty because we couldn't keep up with demand. So points meant that we could attach points to certain foodstuffs. So it's anything we were running short of in the shops, and it was anything coming in from America. So, for example, we've got a tin of golden syrup. This might be 16 points for one tin. This week you might only have 12 points, so you haven't got enough points for this tin. So you've got to decide, do I wait until next week when the points on it might go down, or it might go up? And another example of that was spam. Spam came in from America, and because we didn't know what would arrive due to the convoys being hit, one week we might get oodles of spam, so it might be only 4 points for one tin. So you can get several tins that week. However, if it was in short supply, it might have gone up to 8 points. So it really fluctuated, and every week Lord Walton, the Minister of Food, would come in and tell you what points were attached to what food and what value each item had. So it was a real gamble each week what you spent your points coupons on. So this is also a wartime tin because it's printed directly onto the tin itself, so there's no paper. And you might just see our tins at the back there, and they've got the barest minimum paper on them, so all you need to know is what's in the tin, and it meant that we saved paper as well. So it gives you a small flavour of the display here, and we've got our rag rugging going on. We've been playing some games. People love seeing the knitted tea cosy. We did have the cat on the floor, so some people spot the sleeping cat. But people even reminisce over the knives and forks. It's all about reminiscing and memorising and interacting with people, having a chat about what they remember, about rationing, about clothing. So people find it really, really interesting.
Do you remember when they used to let the children run?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did I see that for? It's a gift of inspiration.